Spring has sprung. Spring football is here. They started spring football yesterday at the University of Texas at Austin. And who took the field but a number 16, Arch Manning? The Arch Manning show has finally begun in Austin. When I was crafting this segment originally, it was all based off of spring notes and intel we had gotten from the good folks at Inside Texas, which if you're not yet following them and gotten a membership over there, they will keep you in the know to the nth degree. So make sure you're locked in with Bobby Burton and co over there. But there was a quote that came out during Steve Sarkisian's press conference that really made waves. And it made waves in some small part because Adam Schefter did a story on it. And the quote reads, Steve Sarkisian says, all positions are open, which then implies the quarterback position will be a competition. Now, that's the way it reads. When you say, hey, they're all open right now. Yeah, you're delivering the message that the quarterback position is up for grabs. But the way that he said it and the way that it was asked to him, I think we need to take a deeper dive into this whole question answer, Arch Manning versus Quinn Ewers storyline we're trying to set up here. Put yourself in Steve Sarkisian's shoes, and a reporter asks you, is the QB position going to be a competition? If you're a head coach and you're trying to get the best out of your entire team, much less your quarterback room, is it in your best interest to say, nope, you know what, Quinn Ewers has got it locked down. It's Quinn Ewers' job, that's that. How are you supposed to preach competition and then also say it's Quinn Ewers' job, nothing you can do about it, Arch Manning? That doesn't make sense, right? That's a tough question to answer on the first day of spring ball where everyone's running around in a helmet and a jersey and some basketball shorts. So I don't think he was lying. I don't think he was being dishonest by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think he was playing chess. The way that it feels to me from the outside looking in is Quinn Ewers now having 1 year in the saddle would have to lose this job. Now, he could lose it by Arch Manning just absolutely balling out in the spring and having a phenomenal fall camp, and then Quinn Ewers just lays an egg. Like, okay, maybe that's a reality you could live in, but I don't think that's the plan. I think the plan is for Quinn Ewers to be your starting quarterback. I get the Arch Manning versus Quinn Ewers story like sells clicks and all that, but I'm not buying that. Based on the way Steve Sarkisian answered that and based on just the overall situation he's in spring ball. Think about it this way too. Spring football is to get better. You're not playing games outside of the spring game. You don't need to get ready for your opener. Like, it is all about you and your program. And you name a starting quarterback, guys outside that quarterback room, different position groups, you're then gauging where you're at on the depth chart based on who you're taking reps with. Hey, I took reps with Arch today. Maybe I'm wide receiver 2. Maybe I'm RB2. That's where I am on the depth chart. Don't worry about that right now. Don't worry about that right now. It's all open. We're all getting better. We're all competing. We'll worry about the depth chart when we get to fall camp. But again, I do believe it is Quinn Ewers' job unless something wild happens. And something wild could be Arch Manning taking that job by the throat and just having an absolute spring and fall camp and Quinn Ewers doing the exact opposite. But that's not the way it feels to me right now. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and this show. We got college football content every single day. We want you locked in for it, okay? Don't miss a minute. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JDPakel. Day one, going back to spring practice, kind of intel and notes, it was the Arch show. It was the Arch Manning show. The fact that number 16 took the field with the Longhorn helmet, it's a big deal. But that's pretty much the only takeaway you can have. He practiced. He's on campus. He's on the 40 acres. He's practicing. Steve Sarkisian said he made some bad plays. I'm paraphrasing. He had some plays he'd like to have back, rather, is the way that he phrased it. Made some great plays. Said he wants to be really great at this game. We're going to let him develop. We're going to let him develop. If I'm trying to track the progress of Arch Manning, the best way for me to do that is tracking where he's taking reps in relation to Malik Murphy. Now, Arch Manning more or less took the second inline reps, rather, I think is how you should phrase it, because Malik Murphy wasn't able to practice. Still having an ankle injury, still kind of nursing that. Something to keep an eye on. If we're starting to see Malik Murphy take the second inline reps once he's healthy, then I'm saying, okay, well, how is Arch doing? How is he progressing? How quickly is he grasping all this? And don't jump to conclusions. If he's taking the third reps instead of the second reps, just let it bake a little bit. He's been on campus all of like 15 minutes, lost his ID twice. Like, it happens. He's still, I believe, a teenager or close to a teenager, should still be in high school. Let it process a little bit. Let it bake. One of the key factors in Arch Manning's maturation, actually, if you think about it, is going to be the progress of Quinn Ewers. And Steve Sarkisian said as much at his press conference. Quinn can service Arch by showing him the right way to do things, by setting the example of how a college quarterback conducts himself, how he practices, how he studies. That's important. That's important for a kid that's just gotten onto campus to be able to have some sort of blueprint for how to operate. I would also say this, Quinn Ewers and his maturation and the way that he plays is going to dictate how much pressure is on a one Arch Manning. Why? Because if he plays bad, you and I both know this Arch Manning is too talented and too visible of a figure to where people will start chanting, "We want Arch. We want Arch." And those chants are going to grow in DKR if Quinn Ewers goes out there and throws 3 picks and looks awful. But if he plays well, it allows Arch Manning to kind of develop, get comfortable in college, much less a college football atmosphere and a playbook and a weight room, and develop. If he plays poorly, you're going to have chance, and you're also going to have the thought as a coaching staff, I would imagine, of, hey, is 16 our best option? Do we need to put Arch Manning in the ballgame right now? I think you'd like to avoid that. Again, this is how I felt about this since he committed to Texas. He committed to Texas at the peak of the Quinn Ewers hype train. He knew Quinn Ewers was the guy. I think the plan is for him to sit. That's how I feel about it. I don't have any intel. That's how I feel about it, and I think that's what Arch Manning would like. I think it's what the Manning camp would like, too, to be honest with you. The way that it sounds, though, Quinn Ewers, having Arch Manning behind him, has brought a little bit more of an edge to him at practice. It's allowed him to maybe elevate his game just a little bit. I mean, when you're being pushed, when there is competition, you get the best out of yourself as well, and I think that's another reason why Steve Sarkisian said what he said. They're all open right now. We're not naming a starter or anything. So we're going to let y'all battle it out. Go do what you do. Go put your best foot forward. We'll see how the chips fall. And the fact that Quinn Ewers over the winter, according to Steve Sarkisian, really kind of had the gears grind in a correct way, kind of started to work for him during the winter, and it sounds like into the spring, that's a really good sign. And again, that goes back to me thinking that maybe there's a little bit more of an edge to him as we get into spring football. So if I'm a Texas Longhorn fan, I'd be excited about my quarterback room right now. You have 2 extremely talented players, 2 cats with, if you add them up, 10 stars between the 2 of them. Not a bad spot to be. I think the future of the quarterback position is in good hands in Austin, Texas. Some other notes, Cedric, or CJ, as he's going to be known, Baxter, the 5-star back that is also supposed to be in high school right now, early enrollee, said he looks phenomenal during practice. In the one practice we've been able to see. 6'1", 210 pounds. Steve Sarkisian said in his press conference 2 interesting things to me. 1, 4.0 GPA. 2, practiced with no nonsense. Like in The Office where Jim holds up that chalkboard sign of days since last nonsense. CJ Baxter is currently at 0, so that's a good sign for a freshman. And I'll start with the 4.0 GPA thing. Read into it as much as you want. I can just say, having been in the sport and been in those locker rooms, you have a 4.0 GPA playing a Division I sport, that tells me you are a pro. You understand priorities, you understand how to manage your time, and you're all business. Got to get my schoolwork done, got to go play ball. Books and ball, man, those are my top 2 priorities. I'm going to handle my business in both areas. I can't do ball if I don't have my books correct. And for Cedric Baxter to have a 4.0, I'm just saying, again, read into it as much as you want. That tells me a lot about how mature this kid is. And to be in college only a few months and have that, it's an encouraging sign. Practicing with no nonsense. Again, read in as much as you want, but when you get to spring football as a freshman, your world is spinning. I mean, everything is new. The practice tempo is different. You're seeing, a different outline of practice on the whiteboard as you walk out. Like, there is so many things that are just sensory overload to you. And for him to practice smoothly, and it sounds like looking good doing it, it's a very good sign. It's only practice 1, so read into it as much as you want. But I'm just saying, the early returns on CJ Baxter, according to Steve Sarkisian, are positive. He's physically, it sounds like, ready to play. 6'1", 210 pounds. There's going to be carries to be had in that running back room now. Don't get it twisted. Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, both gone to the league. Two talents that you can't just replace necessarily, but two guys that left a fair amount of production for, I would say, running back by committee to take place. Also, he fits the mold of what they want to do offensively. Really good route runner and pass catcher. One of the things we loved about him here at On3, Charles Power has him as a 5-star for us in the 2023 cycle. So C.J. Baxter, a guy to continue to watch as we get rolling in spring football here. One last note, Steve Sarkisian talked about as his press conference, Xavier Worthy played the majority of last year's second half of the season with a broken hand, more or less. Now, this is interesting. This changes the entire perspective you have on how he played in that Alamo Bowl game. Now, I'm not letting him off on what he said about, will you be at Texas next year? He could have shut it down right there and said, yeah, I'm going to be at Texas. I'm so excited. Instead, he just said, we'll see. You know, I'm happy to play in this bowl game, and you know, we'll deal with that after the season. I'm paraphrasing. That was the sentiment. Could have shut it down. He didn't. But in terms of in-game production, had a couple of drops that made you think, man, he's checked out. Man, Xavier Worthy must not want to be here. He's halfway in the portal already. I don't think it's novel analysis when you have a broken hand and you're a wide receiver and your job is to catch the football with your hands. You can't do that to your top level of performance. It's very difficult to do that. And so that to me gives me a little bit more encouragement about where Xavier Worthy is with this football team. And I was transparently, I wasn't sure what it was going to look like during spring practice and after spring practice. Sounds like he was one of the first guys on the practice field and a guy they're excited about going forward. So Xavier Worthy playing through a broken hand even. I mean, you don't love your football team if you don't play through injuries. I'll rephrase that. If you don't love your football team, you wouldn't play through a broken hand. So Xavier Worthy, I was really impressed to learn that. And truthfully, I felt a little bit bad for all the backlash he got from that Alamo Bowl game with the way that he dropped some of those passes. Again, a broken hand. Absolute warrior playing through that. So I'm not buying the Archmania versus Quinn Ewers storyline. I think there's still a lot of football left to be played, obviously, with the spring and the fall. But I do believe it is Quinn Ewers' job. We'll see how it unfolds during fall camp. That's the way I feel about it right now. Be excited about C.J. Baxter and Xavier Worthy playing through a broken hand. He's notable, to say the least. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.